Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the update preview stream. This is Bugs here. I'm joined today by Artemis and Miss D. Say hi, guys.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys.
So, what do we have going on this week? Well, we are 1 week from the update and forced wipe. So, as per usual, not a ton to show off on staging. Nevertheless, it is a hack week. So, there are a bunch of potential new, crazy, and some not so crazy features in store. Real quick before we get into it, as always, if you have any questions as we're going through things, feel free, yeah, do that, to ask Miss D underscore that's me in chat. We'll get to as many questions as we have the opportunity to. Also, if you're wondering about server wipes, well, for Rustafied servers, it is the weekly Thursday wipe servers wiping today at their regular scheduled time, 3 p.m. local time for the region. So that's your mains, your smalls, your Zen Labs, and the like. So EU wiped 3 hours ago, AU SEA wiped like 12, 13 hours ago, and US will wipe in 2 hours. US main, small, and Zen Labs are on the list for map wipes today. So let's get into it. What do we have going on? Well, the big news this week is a hack week going on. If you're not familiar, this is when the devs put aside what they're working on and just are free to work on whatever feature they think would be a great addition to the game. Now, in the past, we've seen things enter the game from hack weeks like emojis. I think the parachutes were part of a hack week. Now, I had like a list in my head, but it completely vanished the second I went to retrieve it. But there's been a bunch of cool stuff that has made it in from hack weeks. And there's been some things that haven't made it in from hack weeks. So take everything you hear here with a grain of salt because it may or may not make it in. Now, real quick, before the hack week stuff, I do want to address the hot fixes and do a little postmortem on the patch last week. So, as per usual, basically, after a forced swipe, it's not uncommon to see some hot fixes, client server hot fixes in the following days. And that was the case. You probably noticed over the weekend. You might have seen some client updates when you went to load into Rust. Well, unfortunately, one of the issues with the update and the forced wipe was an issue that corrupted map saves on server restarts. And this was undiagnosed when the update went live and stayed unfixed for a couple days. And unfortunately, some servers did have to wipe again after forced wipe because the map did get corrupt. We had two servers in particular that had that, and other communities had various amounts of other servers have the same issue. It was a global issue in Rust. Now, thankfully, this has been resolved, and we're not seeing the corrupt map saves anymore. So, thankfully, we shouldn't have any more unnecessary or unexpected wipes. But for anyone impacted by this issue, I do sincerely apologize. It was completely out of our control, and we did everything we could to save the corrupt map saves and everything like that and restore them. It just wasn't possible in certain instances. And sometimes this happens when an update is released. There's an unforeseen glitch or issue, and in pretty much a worst case, it does force a map wipe. And it's rare, but it happens. But nevertheless, even though it was out of our control, I do apologize for if you were negatively impacted by this. Because man, does it suck to lose hours and hours of progress, especially after a forced wipe. It's just like literally the shittiest thing that can happen in the game next to getting like fly hacked raided by a hacker. Yeah, it's just not great. So sorry about that, and it shouldn't be an issue any further. Now, we are seeing one issue on our higher pop servers with the industrial stuff, and this is causing some lag issues occasionally. And when it kicks up, we're changing some parameters around with the industrial stuff to try to fix it. But basically, there's a memory leak in the industrial stuff from what we can see. And this is an ongoing issue, and it does cause lag in the servers sometimes when it flares up. And it's just people doing certain things with the industrial system. The devs are aware of this, I believe, and working on a fix. They did do some changes to the industrial system with the update last week, but it clearly didn't fix everything because there are still memory leak issues and they are traced back to the industrial system. So hopefully that is resolved. Maybe we'll see a hot fix, or maybe it'll take until next month. In the meantime, when it does flare up, we do have some server CVARs that we can tweak, and it does seem to clear it up a little bit. So if you are in a Rustafied server and it is getting lagged, feel free to come in Discord and say, fix your fucking server, it's lagging to shit. Or you could say it nicer, but at this point, I don't, I don't really expect politeness in Discord. But feel free to let us know, and we'll hop on. And we also have some monitoring systems that are pinging us when it's coming up. So we're trying to fix it before people get in Discord, but it's just to let you know, that's an issue going on, and we're working on fixing it, and the devs are aware. Also going on this week is some Lunar New Year items. The Chinese New Year is February 10th. And so with that, as we've seen in previous years, there are some cool new items coming in for the Lunar New Year. They will hit the item store today, some point pretty soon in the next hour or so, I believe. Let me actually just refresh and make sure they're not there already. Nope, not seeing them there yet, but they should be here later today on the item store for purchase. And what you get, or what you can get, is a dragon launcher, a new cool spear with a cool red tassel on it or whatever. And that's a skin of the wooden spear. And the dragon launcher is, of course, a skin of the rocket launcher. And there's also a white lantern. And yeah, that's like the other lantern, the previous lantern, which was red, but this one's a white one. So those are going to be available on the item store. They're probably just going to be a limited time thing, so get them while you can. And happy Lunar New Year, everybody. So now on to the Hack Week stuff. What do we got going on? Well, first and foremost, they're working on some meals. And this is like a meal system. It looks like there's going to be 13 meals potentially, and they're going to take different ingredients. And I imagine when you take the time to cook one of these meals, then the subsequent meal created, the subsequent food will be more nutritious, and maybe it could even give some extra benefits or stat boosts like maybe tea does. I'm not sure, but just hypothetically speaking, that's possible. But anyway, it looks like these meals are going to be cooked on a couple different mediums. One is a cooking pot that's going to be deployed on the campfire. And it also looks like there's two types of ovens being worked on, an electric one and probably maybe a low grade or something. So we'll keep you posted on this. As with all Hack Week projects, it might not make it in, but man, I think meals would be a pretty cool addition to the game, having some more complex stuff when it comes to eating. But in a similar vein, there's a lot of work on tea prototyping. So there's some new teas being worked on, and there's some interesting ones in here. Now, once again, not all these or any of these necessarily are going to make it in, but there are some definite interesting ones. I'll run through them real quick. What we're seeing so far, there's a tea to help you breathe underwater. There's a tracking animal through objects tea, so you can like see animals through the woods and through buildings and stuff. There's an increased crafting speed tea, which will increase your crafting speed by 50%. There's also an increased recycling speed tea, which will double the speed at which you recycle items. There's an explosive sense tea. This is an interesting one that will actually show an arc and a blast radius when throwing explosives, so you can see like where it's actually going to hit. There's also a health regen tea, which will basically slowly heal the player by 1 hit point per second when they're not in combat. And there's also an auto smelt tea being worked on, which will basically just auto smelt metal and high quality metal and sulfur ore into the player's main inventory into their respective smelting forms every 5 seconds. So it'll just auto smelt while you've got this tea active. That's pretty crazy. And then there's also a tea that doubles the speed of weapon deploy animations. And that's a pretty big one too, potentially. Now, within all this, we're also seeing a new poisoning element come into effect. And this is to negate or kind of nerf people using multitudes of different teas to get like superhuman perks all at once. So basically, if there's more than 3 teas active, then you'll basically get poisoned and it'll like kind of just kill you, I guess, or negate your ability to be a superhero with teas. So that's the tea stuff. Once again, not necessarily going to come in, but maybe we will see some of these. And I think it would be cool to see some new teas in action, within reason, of course. Like, probably not a flying tea, but who knows? Also, in Hack Week news, there are weapon vehicles being worked on. One in particular is the cannon. So it looks like there's going to be a deployable cannon that will attach to vehicles and be able to be fired as you are moving around in your vehicle. Now, there's not much information on this, not much specifics. All we've really seen in the commits is just that a cannon is in the works for a weapon vehicle, but that would be pretty cool to see some vehicles for weapons. Now, off of the Hack Week stuff, briefly, there are some tweaks coming into the harbor, specifically to account for the cargo ship, which is interesting. So, this seems to be along the same vein of, as discussed in the January dev blog, where the devs said they're going to, as part of this year's work, go back through the existing monuments and modify and tweak and improve them. And so far, over the past couple of weeks, we've seen a lot of commits towards the compound, and they're reworking the compound, adding like a city hall and a new helipad and a bunch of raised bridges, walkways, and stuff like that. And along with that, what we started seeing this week is some tweaks to the harbor, specifically for cargo ship. So it's not clear exactly how this is going to be integrated, but based on the commits, it does seem like we might have a harbor that the cargo ship either stops at briefly, or maybe it'll spawn there or go around the map and then stop there. I'm not sure what it's going to do, but in some manner, shape, or form, that cargo ship may soon interact with the harbor. And unlike the Hack Week stuff, this is more of a main branch thing that they're working on. So I do have more confidence that this will eventually make it in. Now, one thing to keep in mind with all the monument stuff is the monuments are all bespoke, handmade, custom things. And so modifying them or creating new ones or reworking them is a process, and it takes time. So I'm not expecting the new harbor to make it in for like the March update or anything like that. But I do think sometime later this year, we'll see an updated harbor, and it might have some cool interactions with the cargo ship. Now, there's also some other things being worked on, a couple other Hack Week projects. One is full base heating, a concept for that. And based on the commits, Jake is going through and basically trying to just, it looks like, define all the different rooms of a base programmatically such that they can modify the elements in those areas. I don't know if there's going to be just like one heater that's installed, or like maybe a furnace that is installed in the base that when installed, it'll just ensure that your base is always heated, providing, I guess, the furnace is running. But that's a really cool concept, especially if you like living in the snow or anything like that. It could be nice to have a nice cozy base to always come home to, regardless of what biome you're living in. Now, like other Hack Week projects that might not make it in, but man, that would be a cool one. I would really like to see that one come in. Also in the Hack Week realm, there's some gunplay things being played with. Now, I don't have any details about this either specifically, and Helk also did confirm that he's going to be playing with different gunplay things and tweaking things. And we did see some tweaks to gunplay just last week with, what was it, the P2 and such. So it looks like it's going to be a continuation of those. I'm not sure how drastic these gunplay changes are going to be. And for the couple of you thinking, oh, they should just revert back to old recoil, I don't think they're going to do that. I'm pretty sure that's not in the cards. I think they're just going to tweak things progressively, gun by gun, probably, until it's more of the feel and dynamics that they are going for. So more gunplay things in store for the future. There's also, you might have noticed after the update last week, the barrels are looking like less rusty. They're just looking different, a little less textured. It looks like that was an unintended thing that the update launched with. And so that has been reverted on staging. And we're not seeing it yet. I thought it would be on the main branch, but maybe we just didn't update the server recently enough or whatever. But nevertheless, it looks like the barrel textures that we know and love are coming back, along with some added labels. They added the label back for diesel and added an oil label for oil barrels, it seems, based on commits. They're also working on new explosion effects. We've seen this body of work in process for several weeks now. No word on when it's going to come in, but it should be cool to see some new explosion effects because if you've ever like watched a demo or like frame by frame of the explosions, you can see they're kind of low fidelity kind of textures, and it would be cool to have that just be a higher fidelity and a more realistic looking explosion. So that should be cool to see. They're also working on a new military truck. I do believe this is going to be a truck that people can drive around. I don't think it's a truck that's just going to be sitting as a prop at monuments. I do think this is going to be a three-axle military grade truck that will fit a number of people in it. No word how it's going to be obtained or anything like that. There's very few details as it's still on a separate branch and just in earlier stages of development. But nevertheless, we might have some sort of like, say, I don't know, scrap heli for the ground type of thing. So that would be cool. We'll keep you posted on that. And then finally, in the Hack Week project realm, there is some work on cliff reworking. So just some more reworking to those procedurally generated cliffs around the map. I think there's a lot of opportunity for tweaks and improvements in that realm. So it'll be cool to see what they come up with and if it actually goes into the game, like any of this Hack Week stuff. But yeah, that is about what is going on. The other thing, just on a personal side, and just as a heads up, I'm probably going to cut the stream short. I've got a little bit of an ocular migraine thing going on. This hits me sometimes, and I can't like see, and then a really bad migraine comes on. And so I'm just in the midst of that right now, and it's rather unpleasant. So I probably will also, given there's not a ton to show off, I'll probably call this a short one. But in the meantime, if we have any questions, feel free, as always, to do at shadow underscore. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, there we go. I've been good for the past couple of weeks.
You
I haven't
have
dead
been
named
doing
you for
really
a
good.
couple of
Yeah.
weeks, but I'm going to blame the migraine on that one. But yeah, at Miss D
Excuse.
underscore that's me in chat. I was literally going to say at shadow underscore that's me in chat. I'm like, wait, that's not her fucking name. But yeah, at Miss D underscore in chat if you have any questions. And yeah, we got any questions, Miss D?
Yeah, we do have a few. Will the Lunar coming up, with the Lunar coming up, what will be getting store-wise this year?
We've got three items for the Lunar New Year from what we can see, and it's all subject to change until it actually goes up. Oh, look at this. It is live. Awesome. The item store is updated. Go check it out. I'll post a link real quick.
Um,
There's a
this is
linky
a long.
link. Well, one real quick. I just want to say we've got a Chinese lantern. It looks like the one from years before, but cool. We've got the new Chinese New Year spear for $3.99. We've got a dragon box, which is cool. The dragon door knocker. We got a red dragon fan as well. There's a bunch of Chinese New Year stuff. The dragon rocket launcher, the dragon SAR, the mythical dragon AR, some double doors. Yeah, there's some good stuff on the item store this week. Some nice pickings and some nice Lunar New Year stuff. So definitely go check it out and go pick up the items you like because they're pretty cool looking and they are probably only available for a limited time, maybe this week only until the item store updates next Thursday. So grab them while you can. And sorry, Misty, what were you saying?
No, it's all. It was just the next question.
Cool, let's do it.
Uh, do they plan on retuning slash fixing the backpack so it stops randomly flinging out of the equipment slot and becoming not pick-upable or re-equipable? Wonder why it only spent 1 week on staging.
Yeah, I imagine that will be fixed because that's not an intended uh, thing. So I do imagine that will be fixed. And it's really not uncommon to see miscellaneous glitches or issues like that with a new functionality or new item in the game. And it might not seem like it, but there's actually a lot going on with the backpacks as far as like inventory management and different programmatic things in the background to account for all of that. So I'm not surprised at all that there are a couple glitches or whatever, but I wouldn't worry about it. I imagine it will be fixed either with a hot fix in the next week, or it might have to wait until the March update. But nevertheless, I do imagine that will all be fixed soon.
With all the new teas, will you consider putting a few mixing tables in Outpost for early game tea creation?
Ooh, I like that idea. I'm not sure, given we run official vanilla servers, we have limits in what we can do with monuments. Now, they did give us a couple things that we can do. Like we are able to combine the bandit and outpost or the compound or whatever. We're able to have combined versions of that. So I appreciate you mentioning that, and I'm going to make a note and see if that's something that we could do. Add some more,
I can
tables.
send the question over to you in PM so that you have
Cool.
it.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'll follow up on that because I think that's a good idea. But we do want to stay within the confines of vanilla, of course. So and that's really up to the devs. So we'll see with that one. But good question.
Someone here said he got kicked out of game on some oh my goodness. On some servers, I've been on a large all camera and it's messed up and will kick me out of the game along with my teammates.
Yeah, that's a shame. I would definitely, if you haven't already, I'd hit F7 in game and definitely like write a report up, a bug report about that. And also, and it's probably unrelated, but it is very common when I see people saying they get disconnected while trying to connect or in queue or even in game. A lot of people run on Wi-Fi, and unfortunately, that can be spotty and can cause disconnects. I'm not saying that's necessarily what the issue was here. It sounds like it might be an issue with the game and the cameras, but also just a friendly note that if you are able to plug in and you're not, then I would definitely recommend it because you're going to have a much stronger connection to any server you're on.
I saw a few people asking if there's any drops for Rust.
No, no Twitch drops in sight for this week.
Well, we gotta wait then.
Yep, yep.
Mm, Let's do a recap. Questions a little slow right now.
Cool. That's all right. We'll do a little recapity cap here. The main thing is Hack Week. If you're not familiar, Hack Week is when the devs take a pause on whatever projects they may have been working on and pick up a new project that they want to work on. Any feature or item that they'd like to have added to the game, they're free to spend a week or even sometimes more developing that out. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes those items make it into the game, like emojis started as a Hack Week project. And so it's cool to see these Hack Week projects, even if not all of them make them in. It gives a little insight into what the devs are interested in doing with the game. And we're seeing a bunch of Hack Week stuff this week. Real quick, there were some hot fixes. There was a big issue with the update and forced wipe last Thursday. And I just want to once again just acknowledge what happened. It was an issue where certain map saves on server restart would be corrupted and unrecoverable. And thankfully, that issue has been patched and resolved from what we can see. Unfortunately, some servers did have to wipe after the force wipe unexpectedly due to the map save corrupting. We had two servers that happened on, and I do sincerely apologize for anyone negatively impacted by that. We do everything we can to avoid such situations, but sometimes it's just completely out of our control because it's something, just an issue with the game. And we're not developers of the game. We just, host the game and report on development news. So we're a little just at the effect of the situation sometimes, and this was that case. So I do apologize, but thankfully that has been fixed. There is also, I will just say again, an issue ongoing with the industrial, which is causing memory leaks. It's something with the industrial system, and it's causing the server to lag out. We have some CVARs that when that happens, we throttle them down, and it seems to resolve the issue. So we're monitoring the situation, but if you do get hit with like players ice skating around or whatever lag issues on any of our servers, feel free to hop into Discord and be like, "Hey, I'm getting some lag on US long three or whatever it is," and we'll be happy to take a look at it because that is a known issue happening now, and that's kind of like a firefighting thing. We gotta when it happens, we got to go put the fire out, so to speak. But it does help if you point out the fire to us if by chance we haven't seen it yet. So I do appreciate anyone letting us know. Lunar New Year items coming in. That's the big thing. There's a bunch of awesome things on the item store related to Chinese New Year and Lunar New Year. The item store did just update several minutes ago, so definitely go check it out. There's a couple pages of items and some really cool stuff, including this new spear, which is a skin of the wooden spear and looks awesome. And there's also the dragon launcher, which also looks awesome. And there's a white lantern, which might actually just be the red lantern, and you can turn it white now, I think. So
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like chat's clarified that.
yeah, and thank you for that clarification, guys. I always, once again, we're not developers. We don't know everything. So if you ever notice something that we're not saying, I do love it when you guys point that out and we can get the information out there because that's the intention of this is just to provide all the information that you might want to know as a player about what's going on in development. So I do appreciate your collaboration with that. Now, to recap on some of the Hack Week projects, we've got meals being worked on. This is going to be you take a couple ingredients and you can make one of 13 meals, it looks like. They'll probably have extra benefits or something like that, or just at the very least be much more nutritious than just eating standard meat or whatever. And it looks like you're going to cook these things on a new cooking pot, which will be deployed on a campfire. And also, it looks like there's two types of ovens being worked on as well, which will allow you to cook meals in them also. There's also tea prototyping going on. And now this is very interesting. There's just basically a bunch of new types of tea. Now you can see the full list on rustafied.com on my article today, but I'll quickly run through them again. There's breathing underwater tea, tracking animals through objects, increased crafting speed, increased recycling speed, explosive sense, where you can see an arc and a blast radius of when throwing explosives. There's a health regen tea that will tick up your health by 1 HP per second when not in combat. There's an auto smelt tea they're working on, which will basically just take any ore you got in your inventory as you're running around and just smelt it in your inventory every 5 seconds. It's pretty crazy. And then there's also a double speed of weapon deploy animation tea. That's a weird way of putting it, but yeah, that's it's a tea. You drink it, and it doubles the speed of your weapon deploy animation. And then with all this, there's also a like caveat, which is a poison effect they're adding in, which when you have more than three teas active at once, it will poison your ass. So you can't drink all the tea. I guess that makes sense. If you drank like a whole bunch of weird ass tea, you'd probably get a bellyache, right? So kind of makes sense. But yeah, this is all being worked on. Not sure if any of these or some of these will make it in, but definitely interesting to see. There's weapon vehicles being worked on as well, specifically a cannon that can be added to vehicles. That's another Hack Week thing. There's tweaks for the harbor. They're redoing the harbor, it looks like, to account for a cargo ship maybe coming in or stopping by at certain points. This is not Hack Week, so more likely to come into the game, but I wouldn't hold your breath as monument stuff does tend to take several months at least to complete and go live in the game. There's also in the realm of Hack Week stuff, they're working on full base heating, which would be really cool. They're working on some gunplay things. And they're also working on cliff reworks for a Hack Week thing. So maybe some tweaks to the procedurally generated cliffs around the map. On top of that stuff, they're still working on some new explosion effects and a new military truck, the M939, which is like a three axle hooded or covered military transport vehicle of sorts. So could be cool. And then finally, if you've noticed after the last Thursday update, you looked around and the barrels looked all weird. That's being reverted. That was unintentional. And they're even adding some more labels to the barrels. They added back diesel and they're adding an oil label or something like that. So That will be in probably with the March update. So you're going to have the weird barrels potentially for another couple weeks, but who cares? But yeah, that about does it for the recapity cap. Misty, any other questions?
Yes. What about upgradable ladder hatches?
Yeah, I think they said they were going to be working on some stuff with that. Um, where did I see that? Man. But yeah, I think that is at least in
Yeah,
concept limbo.
yeah, they did talk about that a few months ago, I think. You
Yeah,
said
yeah,
something.
that's ringing a bell, but I can't place it specifically. There's so much info floating out there. It's hard to retain all of it. But yeah, I think that is being worked on.
So I just want to say that a few people in the chat said that the lantern in the shop is red, but if you buy that or if you have it from previous years, like bought it, you have the option to make it white or red. So
Awesome. And yeah, once again, chat, thank you for clarifying that. I'm going to update my post after this on rustafied.com as well, just to reflect so that people know if they're looking for the white lantern, they know they can buy the red one and turn it white. And if they already had the red one, they don't need to buy another one to get the white one, which is cool.
is there any news on anti-cheat?
There is not really any big news on anti cheat other than they're still working on it. And uh, yeah, and we're still working on it here too. Every week we've got our own in-house anti-cheat and third-party anti-cheat we're working with on top of EAC and the face punch stuff because let's face it, the EAC stuff doesn't do it. It just doesn't fucking do it. It lets these hackers stay in the server for 3, 4, 5 days getting data on them before it bans them. Ban the fuckers. You can't tell I'm not a little tired of repeatedly banning hackers all over the goddamn place. But it's all to say, we are every week tweaking our internal stuff to try to catch these guys quicker and quicker and quicker. And occasionally there is a false positive, and sorry if that is the case, but I hope you do understand that we're doing everything we can to have specifically the Rustified servers get rid of hackers as quickly as possible in lieu of EAC doing their fucking job effectively. And I'm just not mincing my words anymore with this shit. Until they do their job like that they were literally paid for, I'm not going to dance around and be like, "Oh, they're trying. Oh, well, maybe it'll get better." No, it's been fucking years and they're not doing their goddamn fucking job. Do it. And unfortunately, they're not doing it. So we're investing money, resources, time, and we have been for over a year in developing our own systems and doing that. And we have more future plans for that. Also, Rustified related, like on top of that, we do have a bunch of development stuff we're working on. We're not developers of the game, but nevertheless, we develop our own stuff for player quality life and all that stuff. We're engaging a development firm to redo our e-commerce site because it's outdated and it's got way too much friction between hitting the main page and actually checking out with your VIP. So in the next several months, we hope to have a much more streamlined e-commerce system for our VIP. We're also working on a stat system and a leaderboard system for our servers, and we're investing a good amount of time and money in creating something really special with that. It's going to take longer than I would like, but once it's out, it's really going to be a standout thing that no one else has done and provide you a layer of statistics about your play style and everything like that. That the goal is that it doesn't exist anywhere else in the game. So we're working on that. I'm excited about that as well. And in the meantime, I'm just hanging out in Discord and trying to catch as many hackers as possible. So I do really appreciate you guys, and part of me losing my cool a little bit with the hacker situation. I get a little filthy in the mouth when I get frustrated, but I do imagine you can understand my frustration with dealing with thousands of hackers over 10 years now. And I should say tens of thousands probably. But it is all to say if you do experience someone who's suspect in our servers, please do use our report system because that's a great way for us to combat these hackers. We do really go through the reports. We get like 10,000 reports a month, and we do our best to go through every single one of them and check the people out. So if you're in game, you can do slash report. But I do recommend actually using our new website. It's my.rustafied.com. If you go there and log in with Steam, you can have a much easier report creation process than the in-game or in Discord report process. And you can also easier link like videos and different evidence that you might have. And you can also report multiple people in one report, which is something that you can't do in game or in Discord. But it's all to say that those reports really do help us out. And a huge thank you to everyone who does consistently put in reports, especially quality reports, because that does help us, keep the servers as clean as possible. And just know we do our absolute best to get rid of hackers. But man, is it an uphill battle because EAC isn't doing their job. I'm just going to say it. They're not doing their job effectively. Maybe they're doing a job. They are doing a job. But man, are they if you hired someone to mow your lawn and and they mow like a quarter of it one week and the rest grows out of control and then they mow a quarter, like how long would it be before you fire that motherfucker? Well, I don't know. And granted, anti-cheat is more complicated than mowing lawns, but is it? It is, but still grinds my gears. I do love you all though. Thank you for hearing me bitch and moan momentarily. But I do want to thank you all for tuning in as always. Once again, we're not developers of the game. We're just fans of the game who love reporting on development news and running the best servers that we can. And the only way that we can do that week after week, month after month, year after year is through the support of our community. So to everyone who watches, to people who give bits, subscribe on Twitch, and to our wonderful, beautiful, loyal VIP customers, thank you all so much for the support because literally we wouldn't be able to do what we're due without that support. So really much love to you all and thank you. Also, yeah, I did get a little agitated. I'm realizing here, and I'm also like pinpointing. I have an ocular migraine going on, and it's really throbbing. So I'm gonna call it a day before I bitch anymore about EAC and the hacker situation. I'm gonna go off and smoke some weed or something. But thank you guys as always for tuning in. Miss D, Artemis, thank you guys so much for being my co-MCs.
You're welcome, as always, Bugs.
Yeah, you're
Hope
more
you
than
feel better.
welcome, Bugs.
Yeah, and with that one, we're gonna call it a day. I hope you all have a wonderful week and a wonderful wipe. This is Bugs signing off.